Maybe big data has gotten too big. Whether you're a B2B marketer or a consumer brand, your data needs to be viable, relevant, and accessible so that Stirista can help you retain customers, acquire customers, and make it personal.
Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ear. I'm Kevin, the producer here at Stirista. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges of the market. Maybe we'll have a little fun along the way. In today's episode, Anjali Iyer, head of Lifecycle Marketing at the Washington Post, joins us to discuss her experiences in guiding customers as they move through each stage of the consumer journey, increasing customer lifetime value, and the psychology behind lifecycle marketing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I, of course, am your host, Vincent Pedro, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. It is great to be talking to you today, even though it is awful New York City weather. Maybe you'll have to guess when we're recording this because it's been awful. Just raining every day. I'm like, what do I live in Seattle? Right? I did wear a flannel in honor of Seattle and the grunge capital of the world. Those of you who grew up in the 90s know what I'm talking about. But it is great to be here. Let's pause for a moment just to talk about Stirista, just for a few seconds. That's all we do. That's all I talk about, Stirista. It's not about me. It's not about Stirista. It's about the guest and you, the listener. Stirista, we are a marketing technology company. We own our own business data and business to consumer data. We help companies access that data through our own email sending platform, our own DSP, to help them get new customers. Who doesn't want new customers? I would love some. That'd be great. Email me, vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am. I just gave you my email. The only other thing I'm confident in here at Stirista is my CEO. I'm kidding. I love everyone here. My CEO, my co-host, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. AJ Gupta. What's going on, AJ?
Hey, Vincent. I actually wish we got some rain in Texas. It's been so hot and miserable. So send some of that our way.
I would love to. I was joking with our own Ruby Resendez. She came here from Texas and she was at a conference and she brought all this awful weather. So maybe we'll bring some back for you. But yeah, Texas, is it ever, it rains? I remember one time you got like a huge hailstorm just randomly. It was like a Tuesday.
Yeah, no, it's pretty random. There's not normally like a season for it, but it used to be a little bit more random than this year. It seems like we're destined for a hot December, October, November. So everything is hot. So, but yeah, your weather doesn't sound awful to me. Maybe it is, but it sounds like something I would enjoy taking a nap in.
Yeah, you love a good nap. The people on the podcast are like, does AJ really enjoy a nap like that? When I see them in person, I'm like, oh yeah, he's a huge fan of the nap, gathers his thoughts, his ideas. But yes, you're right. Nothing like a nap in the rain while it's raining. So I love that. AJ, what we got to tell the people when we are going to be going head to head during our fantasy football, even though I have not fared well lately. I was off to a bad start. Hopefully by the time people are listening to this episode, I've made a comeback. I was the victim, well, that's a strong word, of...
Yeah, that's actually a strong enough word.
Oh yeah, I went to bed beating one of our teammates by like a half a point. And 2 days later, not even the next day, 2 days later, they made a correction and added 3 points. So I was not very happy with that. Not very happy. I think you might have had something to do with that.
No, I actually felt bad for you because that was I think a -2 swing that, I guess put you under the edge this time.
Yeah, I thought this was my comeback tour.
But, I'm not faring that well either. I put in Aaron Jones into the lineup because they said he was fit, and here we are.
And here we are. The number 1 and 2 last year are, but okay, but let's hear how our story ends, ladies and gentlemen. We will certainly hopefully prevail. I think we'll be okay. We're pros. But also, AJ, I'm so happy to have this next guest. We're talking to the Washington Post today. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Washington Post, we have the head of Lifecycle Marketing, Anjali Iyer. What's going on, Anjali?
Good. It's a little bit cloudy here, but thankfully no rains. Please don't send it our way. Want a little few dry weekends to enjoy the outdoors. Hopefully fall weather.
I know this fall weather. Me and you know it. You're in the Washington D.C. area, of course, Washington Post, and we're used to seasons changing. AJ in San Antonio, they're like, "What's a season?" They don't know what that is. It's just either hot or just slightly less hot. That's the San Antonio weather there. They Christmas tree, it's like a cactus. They put some Christmas lights on there. They don't know what we're talking about, but let's talk about. People know the Washington Post, but talk to us about the Washington Post and talk to us about your role specifically within the organization.
Yeah, so as you know, like Washington Post is one of the leading daily media companies, and what we're really known for is our exceptional political and investigative reporting on the inner workings of the White House and the government. But we have also expanded our coverage into new verticals in recent months, like well-being and climate. So our journalism really lives at the intersection, if I may say so, of policy, business, well-being, climate, and really culture at large. And that's where your lifestyle comes into play. We really believe in our mission, and the world is getting complex and interconnected, and it is really important for the consumers to connect all the dots and truly understand what are we living through today and what is on the horizon for tomorrow. So I encourage our listeners to go to WashingtonPost.com. My role at the Washington Post is the global head of Lifecycle Marketing. What does that mean? It's really where our journey with the consumer starts as soon as they connect with us. And our goal at the end of the day is to turn them into loyalists and increase customer lifetime value.
That makes sense now. Yes, life cycle of the subscriber, of the customer. That makes complete sense. I love it. Also, a question we ask all of our listeners: how did you get started in marketing, just in general?
So my journey has been intriguing. It began when I started with my undergraduate major in business, and I found my passion with numbers, but I soon realized that numbers by themselves are really boring and dull. So what fascinated me was applying my passion of this numerical insights on consumer behavior and marketing strategies. So early in my career at JP Morgan Chase, I was fortunate enough to blend my love for numbers and consumers. And that's where I first took on the role of doing lifecycle marketing for the United Airlines credit card portfolio. And this really helped me start my journey with marketing. And I have been loving it since then.
And Anjali, what is it about life cycle marketing in particular that interests you? And can you talk a little bit more about what life cycle marketing is?
Yeah, I mean, I think life cycle marketing is really building and nurturing the long-term relationships with the consumer as they're trying to get to know you and interact with you, right? And consumers' interactions evolve, right? They go through different stages and they change over time. From awareness to I don't like this to coming back again to then engaging and turning it into a purchase, and then we have to try our best to retain them, and then we save some and we lose some and then try to win them back. So it's this circle of journey, and lifecycle marketing really is focused on making sure we personalize and cater to consumer needs and be relevant to them, because then that's what makes us meaningful to them. And then we can increase our customer lifetime value. And really what interests me about it is the consumer centricity and the psychology behind the consumer journey. So it's not just about like purely transactional, but it's really understanding the consumer, what they want at a given point of time. And I think marketing blends this strategy and creative and psychology, which is all about engaging and rewarding, and the reward is for both consumers as well as us.
is the goal to increase the length of one's subscription, or is it about getting more subscriptions? How do you look at it?
So it's not just about, hey, increase the length or just about acquiring. At the end of the day, the goal is to increase customer lifetime value, right? And and the primary objective really should be, how do you nurture these relationships? So it's both. It's acquiring new subscribers, nurturing them, and retaining them. I mean, undoubtedly, acquisition is important for revenue generation, but lifecycle marketing recognize the value beyond that initial interest in the brand. And you have to ultimately make sure that they are satisfied with their subscription and stay with us longer. And then they become brand advocates for future consumers to consider us as a brand.
And Anjali, I want to pick up on something you mentioned, psychology, right? I think you mentioned psychology. It is a major element of life cycle marketing and loyalty marketing. What do you think? What emotions or thought processes do you try to build within that marketing?
Yeah, you got on to my love of psychology. I think it's an important role on life cycle and loyalty marketing. It requires understanding of psychology, right? To build that trust, the emotional connection, and applying some of the basic psychological principles. How do you engage consumers? And then we want them to reciprocate by subscribing to us, so that reciprocity comes into play. And then ultimately, it's all about storytelling, right? How do you build that brand loyalty? So I think it's like a perfect fusion of psychology and marketing strategy that allows us to create that lasting relationships with our consumers.
You know, it makes complete sense. And also, personalization is big when it comes to life cycle marketing. How are you incorporating personalization? You know, are there channels that works better in than others?
Yeah, personalization undoubtedly is important. And we have built a customer data platform, and we use Action IQ to build our consumer journeys. And that really unlocked a lot of capabilities for us in terms of building onboarding and triggers based on where consumers are in their journey and being relevant to them in the channel. At the end of the day, we want them to come more and read us more, and diversify their reader across the different verticals that we have to offer. But with all of this capability, we can actually use data and predictive analysis and give them meaningful offers or content, or recommend the right product as their needs change over time. And all of this ultimately will increase conversion and retention. So its personalization optimizes both conversion as well as experience. And it can be used in many, many channels, but I think it works exceptionally well in digital environments like email and on-site and in-app notifications and social media.
Anjali, Washington Post is known for having some great programs in onboarding new customers. Can you talk about what are some of the most important elements when you're thinking about building a successful onboarding program?
Yeah, so we recently launched our onboarding. I say recently, but I think it's a year now since we launched it. And we really didn't have an onboarding strategy prior to that. It was one single email that provided all the meaningful actions that, everybody in the industry knows what they are, into one single email. So there was no personalization whatsoever. Now, I mentioned earlier, we have Action IQ and we've built this customer data platform. So we were actually able to influence how we want to build our onboarding journey with like 3 simple principles that I believe in. One is like, it's all about the consumer centricity. You want to prioritize their needs. And then you need to have relevant conversations with them to build that loyalty. And then how can we try our best to be consistent across all the channels that they interact with? So during our initial on-site onboarding phase, we ask consumers, what time do you prefer to read? And what that helps us do is then recommend the right newsletter that fits their needs when they want to read. But it also helps us collect important data that will help us personalize their experience later on. So we ask them about their interest, and we ask them to download the app, and we recommend other newsletters, and a lot of other important actions that will help them consume us over time and become loyalist.
And Anjali, I know in your prior roles, you've not necessarily worked on a subscription model, but Washington Post is based on a very subscription-driven model. So how do you kind of think about adjusting strategies when it comes to kind of a month-to-month subscription model that Washington Post has?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I was previously at JP Morgan Chase, and then where I managed the United credit card portfolio, and then at Marriott. And I think both of these experiences have provided me with valuable insights on consumer loyalty and retention. I think there are nuances in how these strategies are executed across industries, but several of the key principles remain the same. If you think about it, it's about having a high quality product. You cultivate and nurture the relationships, and then you deliver on those experiences and maintain consistent communication. And I think all of these were easily translated in a subscription model.
And Anjali, you talked about in the beginning a little bit about other areas of focus. You know, but a lot of people think Washington Post politics, right? Is usually the first thing that comes to mind, but given the namesake, how do you combat the perspective in your marketing?
Yeah, I mean, addressing and evolving brand perceptions, it's a significant challenge. And I think, you know, being based in the Washington, D.C. area, it gives the perception that we are just politics. But actually, we have broadened so much in our coverage with well-being, climate, and last month we just relaunched style section. We have games, recipes, and we are also collaborating with partnerships like Panera and Verizon, and that has helped us extend beyond our political sphere and with new audiences. And I think these strategic initiatives, have just helped us to empower our personalization approach and showcase that the Post has the breadth and the depth for local coverage, and trying to slowly shift the narrative around the brand.
And you mentioned some partnerships there. You mentioned Verizon, Panera, right? How has that been useful in your marketing, and are there others that you want to talk about?
So you're right. We have established some significant and impactful partnerships over the years. We became the first news publisher to partner with Panera's Panera Bread Unlimited Sip Club, where we give their consumers 6 months of Washington Post digital access for free. And then we were also the first national publication to join Verizon. And through that partnership, we give them an exclusive 3-month subscription. And both of these partnerships have helped us expand our audiences in a mutually beneficial way.
So Anjali, how has the news fatigue impacted your work at Washington Post? Has the company developed more casual entertainment-based content for the readers?
Yes, news fatigue is a real challenge for the entire industry. And we recognize it. And to address this, we are really committed to deliver accurate and engaging news content. For example, our news forensic team plays a really important role in making sure consumers feel the authenticity in the coverage, and we are setting standards for visual verification. And over the past years, we have introduced so many new sections. For example, I'll talk a little bit more about style, which was recently relaunched. It's a good blend of cultural news. It features personality, providing different perspectives. And we are also working to have this lighter content to enhance the engagement of consumers during the moments where, they're struggling with the hard news that is happening around the world, and it is a reality. But we're trying to introduce new games and recipes, and trying to also push consumers towards lighter content so they have a healthy blend of hard news, which is a reality, which we can't run away from, but how do we supplement that with lighter content?
Anjali, one of our favorite questions to ask here, it's a staple for our podcast, is around LinkedIn unsolicited messages. So I'm sure with your role, you get a ton of messages on LinkedIn that you don't want. What's one that gets a response from you, and what's one that really annoys you?
I'll say something that I really like is a short, personalized message that feels like they know me a little bit, and I will respond to that. I don't like the long, generic messages because they are really spammy, and I just hit delete.
Yeah, I know. No one ever says that it's oh, I want 14 messages and then I'm gonna buy from them like that. Yeah, it's we get that answer a lot, but I it's short and personal. That's kind of what I like as well. So Anjali, let's get to know you personally. DC area. Were you always from the DC area? What do you like about the area? What do you like doing in your spare time?
Yeah, so I have not always lived in DC area, but I think it's now 12 years, and really, really love it. Love the diversity, the culture, the fun things that are there to do. At DC, all the museums are free, unlike New York City. Great food, highly underrated in DC. Get to sample different kind of cuisines, and I do enjoy cooking, and I am always trying out new recipes and putting my own spin on it. I also make decorative pieces from empty wine bottles for fundraising events at school and charity. And as a family, we love to go hiking, and there are so many places in this area. You can go for a short hike in the morning for a couple of hours and have, good breakfast after that with the family. And my guilty pleasure during the holiday season is watching heartwarming Hallmark movies.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that immediately like that. But I like that. Hallmark movies they're heartwarming. You know what's going to happen, right? It's always the woman and the guy moves back to the hometown, and yeah, what? You used to have a crush on me? Really? And then they fall in love. Yeah. But
it's that homey feeling, the good feeling that you want during the holidays, especially with all family around you.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I have my own holiday, guilty pleasures, if you will. I put up an entire Christmas village.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I put up a whole little village with little figurines. And I don't know if I should have just told our listeners that, because, maybe they're listening and they'll send me some little figurines, or they'll send me a cool little lighted house. Right, AJ? You could come over, you could see my Christmas village, and I could see the jokes in your head turning as I share this with you. But that's awesome, Anjali. Thank you so much for being here. Do you want any parting words for our listeners? Anything you want to, obviously check out the Washington Post, but anything you want, books that you're reading, it could be your favorite Hallmark movie. It could be something about the, Washington Post, some new things coming out. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, my lasting thought as, Lifecycle Marketing is we are moving to a world of personalization, and businesses that seamlessly craft personalized experiences will succeed. And how do we think about leveraging AI into all of that in an ethical and a responsible way for personalization will be the key for the future.
I love it. Great words of wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, the head of Lifecycle Marketing at the Washington Post, Anjali Iyer, thank you so much for being here. It's been our pleasure. That's Anjali. I'm Vincent. That's AJ. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast from Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.